Good day, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Loving the Game. I'm Jacques from Yellow Cap Sports, and today I'm joined by none other than Gordon Reid, otherwise known well. I've got to know Gordon as Lucky Gordy, which I'll obviously delve in a little bit into later, and which is also his Twitter handle, as you can see on the screen. Gordon, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Jacques. Lovely to be with you.
Gordon, what have you been up to lately? I mean, tell us what is Gordon busy with in life at this stage of the game?
Getting more grey hairs, but I think that's everyone's story at the moment. So we're all hustling, hey? From my point of view, I started an eventing company at exactly the wrong time, but fortune favours the brave, is what I keep on telling myself when I wake up in the morning. So that eventing company was going to be heading up some great events at some of the bigger shopping malls around the country, and that's now scuppered for the next year. So being the eternal optimist, we're looking at other opportunities, and digitizing those ideas, and I suppose, like everyone, just really trying to find our way in this I hate the term, but new world.
Yeah, there's tough times we're living in, and I mean, yeah, shucks, man. I mean, I've heard some good things about what your plans are, but we'll definitely chat about it as the chat goes along. I mean, I just want to take you back in life a little bit. I've got no idea how old you are, and I mean, I'm not going to trust your grey hairs for that, because I'm following you on Twitter, and I mean, I got to know you quite a few years ago. I actually can't remember even how long ago it was, but it was at the Mr. Price Blog Olympics. I don't know if it was the second or the first or the second version of it, because I was at both, and I think it was the first one, and for some reason you couldn't take part in the second one, but I know you showed your face. I mean, those were fun times compared to where we are today. But I mean, just take us back even further, you know, where you were born, and where your love for sport, because you are a sports fanatic, like, next level.
Yeah, I don't know if it's right to say this, but I compare myself to a dog with two dicks, and I run around. I love different experiences, to be honest with you, and that's what life is about to me. It's just experiencing different things. I got born into a family in Joburg. All good people are born in Joburg, and did my early schooling there. Ended up in Hilton in Maritzburg for junior school. Then we moved to Bloemfontein, but I'm all right now. But yeah, really, I was thinking about this, watching all of your other interviews, and sport for me. My mother was really into squash, and she coached us squash. And I think really at St. Andrews in Bloem is where I developed a bit of a love for sport. Sadly, unlike the rest of your esteemed guests, not rugby, Not rugby. I played for the third team, and we only had 3 teams at St. Andrews in Bloem. But it was fascinating because we used to play against Grade College, and we used to play against their J, K, and L teams, and still get smashed. So that wasn't that enjoyable, but still loved the game, loved the team sport. From there, I think my love really developed for different sports when I turned 40, and I'm 47 now, to answer that question.
Sure. So there's still hope for me, actually.
Listen, there's hope for everyone. My mother learned to play squash at 26 and ended up playing for 4 different provinces.
Oh, wow.
So it's never too late, Yeah.
So, I mean, you've mentioned that now, and I mentioned when I introduced you the name Lucky Gordy. Now, tell me about that name, because hopefully it takes me to my next question, and it doesn't derail my whole interview.
I think I know where you're going with that one. I call myself Lucky Gordy purely because I really think I have been lucky in life. Jeez, I've had some flipping amazing experiences, like you cannot believe. Going back, if we look at sporting, my mate Barry Tuck once took me along. I'm not too sure if you were there, but I met Kobus, one of your previous guests before. Kobus, the Man Mountain. And middle of a Springbok game in Shark Tank, Baz was there, and Castle Lager took us there, and then we led onto the middle of the field. That's what I'm by amazing experiences, experiences that people just would never experience normally. So for me, I think I am lucky, and I think the luckier I think I am, the luckier I get. Just mainly, I've had some amazing experiences, and life is there.
I don't know. There you are.
We got you, Jackie. There we go. There we go. Got you back. Sorry.
No. It's all good. Okay, so basically, I've been trying to read up on you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, awesome. So I've been obviously trying to find
you. You got me there?
Yeah, you back. I've been trying to find some information about you, and obviously trying to get to know things about you that many might not know. Obviously, your close friends and stuff would know. Somewhere along the line, I read about an airplane crash. So that's kind of like where I was thinking maybe the lucky Gordy part came in. But maybe it was part of that, like you mentioned. I mean, you've been lucky in life with quite a few things, some good, maybe some bad. I mean, tell us about this airplane crash situation, because I'm not aware of it, and I'd obviously like to know about it. Unless it's just a joke.
Sure, checkered past with airplanes. I don't know. No, not at all. Hey, I've had a checkered past with airplanes, and I was actually studying for my PPL at one stage. So maybe it's a good thing that I didn't carry on with that, and that I rather do what I do at the moment. But long story short, it all started, funny enough, in 2005. We were sitting down. I was about to watch the Turkish Grand Prix, the inaugural Turkish Grand Prix. And my mother-in-law lives just up the road here from it. And I was looking out over the ocean, and I saw a plane coming in. And I said to the whole dinner party, I said, or lunch party, watch this guy, he's in trouble. Anyway, tree's nuts, he crashed, eh? So we ran down there, first people there, my brother-in-law was myself, a whole lot of people from the neighborhood, and we pulled this family out of this airplane crash. And if I showed you the pictures, you can't believe that anyone got out of there alive, eh? A very interesting story, because they actually own the biggest private fleet of helicopters in Austria. Lovely family, still in touch with them. Wow. They want me to go snow skiing there, which hopefully we will. So that's kind of where the whole airplane thing started. Then another mate of mine got married in Zanzibar, and we were on an island just north of Zanzibar called Pemba. And on the Friday before we were meant to fly back, magnificent place. I mean, the Rolling Stones go there, Madonna goes there, that kind of caliber of place that we got for an absolute steal. 5 stars in the middle of nowhere. And one time, do you remember the airtime one time? They went bang on the Friday, and we were flying back on the Saturday. So what happened was we had to catch a 45-minute boat trip, and then a 40-minute plane trip to Stone Town in Zanzibar. When we got there were promises that there were tickets for us on a certain airline which didn't exist, and we basically had to charter airplanes. The whole wedding party and us had to charter airplanes from Stone Town to get to Dar es Salaam to try and get on an airplane and get back to South Africa. First time we had ever left our daughters, my wife and our daughters. So obviously, and she's a nervous flyer. I mean, I'm so relaxed I could sometimes fall through my own purple. But she's a very, very nervous flyer. So anyway, we chartered these planes. 10 people went in one plane, a little Cessna Caravan, and 5 of us went in a Cessna, I think it was a 252 or something like that. Brand new little pilot. This poor guy was nervous, and as we got to the airport, we were about to land, hectic winds blowing, and the president closed down the airport for an hour. So we had to circle Dar es Salaam, which didn't do my wife any favors, bouncing around. Long story short, coming in on finals, and this guy just stuffed up the landing completely. So we bounced twice and then just stuck the nose straight into the runway.
Oh, wow.
This massive long runway with the SAA plane waiting at the end of the runway to take off, and we just stuck the nose straight in. Thankfully, none of us hurt. Plane completely stuffed, fuel leaking out all over the place. Within 30 seconds, the army and fire were there, guys with guns this size, which didn't do my wife's psyche any good. So yeah, that was the second plane crash. Well, first one that we were in, and that's how that story goes.
I hope you didn't fly too soon after that back to South Africa. Was there at least like a day in between?
Oh no, jeez. No, not at all. Hey, we took us a long hour, 6 hours to get tickets. We ended up flying to Kigali in Rwanda, and then flying to Joburg, missed flights again. So it ended up costing us, geez, I mean, that must be 10 years ago. It ended up costing us another 25,000, 30,000 rand just to get home, which after a holiday.
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking is because of your wife. I mean, she must have been
lucky she still smoked at that stage of the game, so that calmed her nerves a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, Gordon, let's take us through some events, I mean, that you've done. I mean, you've mentioned it now, you quite a sportsman, very active in life. We're not talking about rugby today, which is not a problem at all. At the end of the day, I mean, there's a big love for sport here. And I mean, you've done a hell of a lot of things. More of the, what's the right word to use? Not your regular like football or anything like that, but I mean, some of the stuff that you do, you're quite a big runner. You like cycling, mountain biking. I know you've done canoeing. I mean, I don't know what else you've done. You've probably done surfing, living in Durban. I would be shocked if you tell me you've never surfed in life.
I don't, but I do have a stand-up paddleboard, so yeah.
Have you not surfed at all?
Not on a shortboard, hey, just on the massive stand-up paddleboard, and nothing to write home about.
Okay. And then I think seen some clips of you on Instagram with a skateboard and stuff. So yeah, you do the abstract sports, if that's the word to use. But let's start with running. I mean, yeah, you mentioned that you only got active like when you were about 40 or so. You've done the comrades, have you?
No, that's next level crazy. Hey, I've done some other silly things. My excuse, and this is a complete excuse, is I've played squash my entire life. So I didn't only really start getting fit at 40, but what happened was when I turned 40, I had a what I call a healthy midlife crisis. So I had 5 general anesthetics in 1 year. I had cysts taken off my kidneys. I tried to cut my arm off by mistake. And I had 2 sinus operations. And that's when I kind of said, okay, right, you're getting older now. My dad did pass away quite early from cholesterol and a heart attack, 67. So I kind of thought, okay, got 2 daughters. You really want to walk them down the aisle. So, get your stuff together here. Let's make this happen. It was at that time, and funny you mentioned, obviously Twitter, you and I know each other from Twitter for years and years and years. I was on Twitter and I saw a friend of mine who's sadly since passed away from cancer, Deline. I saw her cycling in a cow suit, and I thought, geez, that looks like fun, eh? It takes the competitive element out of it, and yeah, we can do that. So just so happens that 2 weeks after that, the cows were launching in Durban, and I went along to the launch party, and sure, that was now almost 8 years ago.
Sure.
So that really was it, and the whole cow slogan really is love living life. We've got to appreciate life. We've got to appreciate we're alive, and I suppose this is actually even more relevant today in what's going on. To look at the positives, and we're healthy. We can exercise, even though at the moment it's only between a couple of hours and whatnot. But that was the whole thing, and the cow slogan, it's quite a joke because we talk about a serviette being a legally binding document. And at the launch party, the one guy sat there and he said, well, I'm going to do a half Ironman. I said, well, what's a half Ironman? Because I'd never ran. I mean, the furthest I ran was sort of 3 or 4 Ks. And he said, no, half Ironman, obviously 1.9 kilometers swim, 90K cycle, and then a 21.1. So I thought, okay, damn it, six months away, I'm going to do that. There's a series down here called the Midlands Ultra. And I thought, okay, 6 months away, that's enough time to train. Managed to convince a good friend of mine, Dion, to come and join me as well. I thought he was joking. I didn't think he'd follow through, but God bless him, he really followed through. And yeah, up until that day, I'd never done a 21.1 before, and that was my first 21.1. So 8 years
Yes.
ago, literally, yeah, 7.5 years ago was my first half Ironman, and that was my indoctrination into the cows.
Wow.
Turned out I was quite good at raising money, and I think that was that was really, I suppose, just looking for purpose in life, and that gave it to me that I could stay healthy, I could have fun, I could involve my kids and my wife, I could involve my friends, I could raise money, and I could make a difference. And that's really been the recipe, and all the other fun and crazy stuff that I have done over the past 7.5 years.
Yeah. Tell me, I want to talk about the cows, obviously, because I mean it's been such a big part of your life, and something. I mean, I saw today when I tweeted that we were going to chat today. I mentioned that you're a cows ambassador, and when I tweeted, I was like, "Oh shucks, I hope I was right in saying ambassador." And the next moment, I saw someone saying the cows ambassador with question marks, and I was like, "Oh no, I got it
No, not at
wrong."
all. Eh?
And then luckily I
No,
saw
not.
you and this gentleman or somebody started conversing with each other about it. But just take us through the whole cows. I don't know if it's called an organization or what exactly it's called. But I mean, tell us if you can just tell us about the cows to start things off with, what it's about,
Sure.
etc., etc.
The cows is the most amazing bunch of people, all brought together by a common cause. It got started, it's almost 12 years ago, by Kieran and Grant Bain, who live in Johannesburg. They sadly lost their daughter to cancer, Jess. They decided with a couple of mates that they were going to do the 947, and they were going to raise 60,000 Rand for CHOC. CHOC is Childhood Cancer Function of South Africa. So a little bit misleading. Stands for Children's Oncology Clinics. We don't have clinics per se. We've got houses all over the country. Those houses are based near the big. So here in Durban, we've got houses at Albert Lutuli and Grays up in Maritzburg, and the house is designed to be a healing environment. It is literally, in most cases, a house. Beautiful rooms, nice bedding, little kitchen, playroom, and so on and so forth. So it's next to the hospital because cancer treatment is obviously often protracted, 6 months, a year. So the kid can't sit there on their own. They need a parent, a loved one to be nearby. If the kid's well enough, the kid can come and stay in the CHOC house with the parent. CHOC is an amazing organization. Now the cows was started by Kieran and Grant because they said they got amazing support from CHOC when they lost Jess. And they said, well, we want to raise 60,000 Rand for them. So they decided to ride 947, and the only 6 outfits they could find matching were cow suits, believe it or not. And that's how the cows were started. We 12 years later and raised over 46 million Rand for CHOC as a volunteer-based organization. It is absolutely mind-blowing, the kind of work they're doing and the following that they've gained. These crazy cows, these, the apocalypse cows who do 2 laps of the 947. It's an amazing organization, an amazing bunch of people. And I mean, there's only one or two permanent employees, and they've raised that amount of money and doing that much good in the country. CHOC has definitely gone from strength to strength, and the cows have got an amazing following, and certainly being part of that journey for the last 8 years has been well, it is still exciting. I do still consider myself a cow and a cow ambassador, so certainly you're not standing on anyone's feet over there. I'm just now moving into a space where I can put on events, still raise money for them, and also a couple of other second and third tier charities that especially now with what's happening, are going to need help.
Sticking with the cows, I mean, if anybody searches Gordon Reid or Lucky Gordy or whatever, you will find different kind of cow suits. I mean, you mentioned the Ironman, half Ironman just now, and please tell me you didn't do that in one of the standard cow suits. You did that in like a
yeah, tri-suit, eh?
A proper try.
Yeah, so we've got different things, and our model is great because it's not a case of, oh, look, where can I buy your kit. Our model is, so for cycling, for instance, you raise 6,000 rand, and then it's a noddy badge. It's like, hey, well done, you've raised your money, you've made a difference in the organization. Here's the kit, so you wear it with pride. It's not just a, oh, here we go, we bought it, or a hand-me-down. The cow suits themselves, the big ones with the udders and whatnot, our rules are that you have to have raised 20,000 rand, and then you get loaned that cow suit for a year, and then the same happens year on year on year. So it is a badge of honor. We do have lots of different kit. There's running kit. We've been an official Comrade sponsor for the last, charity sponsored charity. They choose charities, and then you get a 3-year life cycle. But to give you an idea, last year, Comrades cows raised twice the amount ever raised by any other charity before that, because of the cows. And that's the massive following that they've got now. It really is a phenomenal charity, and the money spent extremely responsibly. I think that's what I've enjoyed about it, is actually being involved in where the money is being spent. We have committee meetings. Each region says this is what we want, and then we decide which regions get the money that we've raised, whether we've sweated on. But yeah, we've got loads of different kits. We've also got ice cream bikes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Have you seen this?
I mean, following you kind of see everything pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Well, did 2 doozies as well. Doozies are massive down here in Durban, I suppose, as big as the as big as the 9.4, not in numbers, but more in kind of something that you have to do if you live here. So my 2 doozies that I did, the first one I did 5 kilometers of training. And the next one I did about 40 kilometers of training. So it's 120 kilometers over 3 days, running and paddling. And it's grueling, but it is the most magnificent valley and the most magnificent race, and something that you have to do. Some would argue that you need to do a Comrades as well. And maybe as I lose my marbles, I will do a Comrades one day. But for the meanwhile, I've played squash my entire life. So I want to give my knees a break. But that doozy is absolutely phenomenal. Worthwhile doing.
Yeah, listen, I've done a few doozies in my life, but as an editor, so not in a boat. And I must say, the doozy is like the Comrades. When you watch it, you feel like I want to do this one day. I want to do this one day, and then 2 weeks later, then at least sanity comes back, and then you realize, no, don't worry, it's okay. And I've got this saying, like when it comes to the Comrades. I've got this saying where I'm like, listen, guys, there's a reason why cars were made. So, I'm sorry. I'm never, ever going to do the Comrades. Sorry to say, like you said just now, I have an excuse, and any excuse is good enough for me.
Yeah.
But tell me, there's the big 3 events basically in and around Durban, basically, which is the Amashova, the doozy, and then obviously the Comrades. You've done the doozy. You haven't done the Comrades. Have you done the Amashova at least?
Plenty. I've done it on tandem with my daughters, both of them 65 and 106. I did it on an ice cream bike a couple of years ago. They're terrible things, the cows. I just have to interject, the cow suits and the ice cream bikes and all of these things are really parallels. It's a parallel to say to these kids, hey, geez, we see you guys are battling with the treatment, and this is it. When you're going up a hill and you're cramping, and those ice cream bikes are 60 kilograms and they've got 1 gear, the team's pushing you, they cramping as well. You think about all those kids suffering, and the kids that we've lost, and the kids that have fought through and won their battle with cancer. And it gets you up those hills. That's the nice parallel between all of those.
And how hard does it get in one of those, if I can call it, other suits?
Yeah, it does. I remember one of my first 947s that I did it with a mate of mine, Neil. Yeah, it's like, I'll tell you what, I think it was like 40 degrees on the old Krugersdorp Highway there when you still did the Krugersdorp Highway. And every single oak coming past you is in Lycra, and he's going, are you hot? yeah, but I'm hot. No, you do get hot, but funny enough, your body regulates. After the first hour, it tends to regulate a little bit, and then obviously you're not pushing it as hard as what you normally would in a race. But it's still hot.
Tell me, Gordon, you started mentioning something that you've now gotten involved with, or that you've started actually. Alongside you, I mean, you're still going to be doing a lot of work for cows and stuff, but you started something called Get Hands-On Events. Tell us about this. I mean, this is obviously the company or whatever you call it that you started off just before this pandemic hit us in the face, and now everything's put on hold for you, unfortunately, in that regard. But I mean, luckily, you and I spoke about it off air, just before we came online, and I mean, you've got some great ideas that you're working on to make it worth your while still. I mean, it's not a matter of, oh, well, it's all gone up in smoke or whatever the case may be. Tell us about Get Hands-On Events.
Thank you. So I've also, over the years, done a little bit of work with a school here called Etembeni. Etembeni's got about 300 kids. They're all physically disabled or visually impaired. And it's a boarding school, obviously, because if you are physically disabled or visually impaired, you're not born right next to the school. So a lot of these kids have to stay there. Amazing school, run by a friend of mine, Brom. And we had a bit of a thing. He's got these hand cycles, amazing, ridiculously expensive, 100,000 Rand bikes. And I looked at this, and you know me, I love a bit of a challenge and something out of the ordinary. So I thought, well, let me see if I can do a marathon on one of these things. So I went and did a marathon and didn't really train on it and whatnot. It was a flat one and smashed it out. I thought, okay, well, if I can do 42.2 kilometers on one of these things without too much hassle, what's a real challenge? Maybe 24 hours. So that's where the idea came. And actually a year ago yesterday was Get Hands-On Events, very, very, very first event. It was called the Achilles Hope and Possibility 24-hour hand cycle relay race. I really should have come up with an acronym, but there's a lot of important things in there. Achilles is an organization, a worldwide organization that helps physically challenged athletes to partake in cycling and running events, whether it be putting them in kit that they can cycle or run in, and so on. So that's the ability is obviously giving people hope and possibility. People in this country are physically challenged, by the way, a frightening stat which hit me. So yeah, we did a 24-hour hand cycle relay race. We had 12 teams, and I think we covered about 4,000 odd kilometers at Moses Mabhida. There's a beautiful flat track just behind there. And that really whet my appetite for this eventing space. So my events, I came up with 2 concept events. That's one of them, which we're now going to change slightly. What I'm doing is we're going to start a Backer Buddy fundraising shortly. I've developed a hand cycle attachment that attaches onto a bog standard wheelchair. I tried to buy them overseas and they were ridiculously expensive, like, what were they, about £1,000. So like 25,000 odd Rand and whatnot. We've developed one here for closer to 12,000 Rand, and then the wheelchair is 2,500 Rand. So the thinking really is there that we can put on an event, build 25 of these goodies, put on an event, and after the event, those go into the community. I had sold that concept to an amazing company in Joburg who owns a lot of really big malls, Menlyn, Sandton City, Mimosa in Bloem, Tiger Valley in Cape Town, and then Pavilion here. So they want exclusivity on that. So when we do open up again, that's going to be the dream there as far as the Achilles Hope and Possibility goes. We'll be running the events nationwide every single year. And after every event, those hand cycles will actually go into the community to start uplifting the community. And then I had another concept sold that I'd sold to 8 out of the 11 top malls in the country, where it would bring footfall to the mall, increase turnover on a Saturday morning, as well as just help people see a lot more of the mall. I was about to run my first event at Gateway, and obviously COVID said, hold my beer. So that's all been put on hold. But the exciting thing there is that the concept is sound because it's an event that's put on, but it's a fundraiser, so we benefit the community in around the mall. It can be run as many times as before. And it's helping the community and great for the shopping center and also donating money for the cows, the likes, and so on. What COVID has done for us is it's driven us underground, or not underground, is driven us towards tech. So now what we're doing is we are building a wireframe and we're pitching to investors overseas to come on board and help us develop this tech so that we can use the same concept but sell to every single mall in the world, because obviously this digital acceleration that we've experienced during lockdown has accelerated the digital world massively. So it's exciting to look down that field, and now we can sell the concept to every single mall in the world.
That's
hopefully
awesome.
one day I can make a living out of it and benefit people all over the world. You know, at the end of the day, the exciting and the main thing really is to raise money, to run an event, but make it a fundraiser rather than just make money.
Oh, geez, Gordon, I wish you all the best with that, man. I mean, hopefully sooner than later we'll be out of our cages and you can take back your beer that Gateway took from you, and your events can start going.
Cheers.
I know you're an avid lover of beer, so the sooner the better. Just tell us about some other interesting facts about Gordon that people might not know about you.
Sure. I'll tell you, one of the biggest things that I think shaped me, funny enough, was army. I don't know if you I don't know your age, Jockey. How old are you now?
I must be honest. I was in my gonna be in my matric year the day they announced that it's not compulsory anymore. So I was very happy. The closest I got to army was boarding school, and I think it really gave me a good. The boarding school I was in was pretty, I won't say harder, but they were good in teaching us discipline and stuff like that. And I must say, looking back in life, it's done me well. But I'm honest. I luckily missed the army. I don't know if I would have survived it.
I look at it the other way. I think I'm lucky I went. It was an eye opener to see massive engineering, lots of money thrown at things, but also just to learn more about yourself. And I think that's where maybe my stamina comes from, or I like to call it no brain, no pain, which is probably a bit of a more accurate description in some of the silly things that I've done. But army was fantastic. I did a junior leaders course and ended up doing a fussbait, which was 4 days and 3 nights. We walked on average 40 odd kilometers a day, carrying about 30 kgs of weight, and then every hour on the hour you'll have an English comprehension test. So obviously I had to help my friends out, most of them mostly Afrikaans, where I was in Bloem. And then an hour later, an Afrikaans comprehension test. You shattered, you're tired, you don't know your ass from your elbow. All of a sudden, you're doing a comprehension test, or got to do another test, or a lecture, or anything like that. So, I think the army was something that shaped me. I spent 9 years living in Bloem. Did my schooling there, as I touched on earlier. So, I've also lived overseas a couple of times. Lived in London. My wife and I left here when we were 25, and spent 7 years over there. So I think that's definitely opened my eyes up to the world. I learned more about. I suppose when I came back from overseas, that's where I wanted to be involved in a charity, to say, well, flip, we are so fortunate. We do come from a place of privilege. We told on Twitter the whole time, white privilege and male privilege. 100%. I accept that they are very, very real. However, I'm not going to be an apologist. I'm not going to be an idiot, or I'm going to be good about it and accepting and make a difference. Especially being the father of 2 daughters. You've got to really even the. Oh, I've frozen.
You're frozen there for a moment.
Sorry.
I'm hearing you again.
Cut down. Sorry, yeah, there we go.
There we go. You
just close that down. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm seeing you and hearing you well.
My computer started backing up. I think it started trying the bandwidth. Perfect.
The choice of South Africa.
Perfect. Yeah, so the joys. Hey, we got plenty of joys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me, Gordon, if there's something, there's so many events and stuff that, that goes around and stuff. What are certain events you've mentioned, comrades, maybe one day when you lose all your marbles like you've mentioned, but what are some events that you haven't done yet that you actually would like to do?
Joburg to see. Even Cape Epic, we got two cows, mad cows that did Cape Epic in full cow suits last year. That is just that Wayne Keat and Warwick van Breda, just crazy guys. But I think that's the nice thing of being part of the cows and the apocalypse cows is meeting these crazies and pushing your limits. The old saying, if you're sitting in a room and with someone, with people who aren't pushing your limits, then you need to change rooms. For me at the moment, to be honest, what I'm enjoying is crazy off the wall events that aren't oversubscribed. These eventing spaces are massive, and there's a lot of money in them. But obviously things are it's a bit hard to do all of them. But certainly the mountain bike races like Joburg to see, I think that'll be a nice push. Or I'd actually prefer to do something solo, like literally climb on my bike one day and end up in Cape Town. Don't know. I prefer the off the wall solo things. I've got another mate who cycled across America, who does all sorts of crazy things over there, like called the Great Divide. That's the kind of thing that I aspire to. Not your normal, like I'm a Shorver, go and belt it out in 3 hours. That doesn't appeal to me. I've never ever done that in my life before. I've never done even 947. 947 for me is a social day out, about pushing people up hills, fixing people's punctures, motivating people up the hills, making sure that other people are having fun. And I think that's what the cow suit has done to me is these people are all on their own journeys. This last year's 947, my one mate, Rich Lasky, said his girlfriend had entered and she hadn't trained. And on the Thursday night before, I was up there and just said, no, stuff it, you're doing it. So literally pushed her up every single hill for 60 kilometers and then proceeded to blow. And lucky by that stage, a couple of the apocalypse cows came past and managed to help push her home.
Sure. No, I tell you what.
It's more about the experience.
Yeah. No, I must say, if I had to do something like that, I think I would have only done it for the experience. Whether you finish or not, so what? It's not always about. I mean, if you're not competing to win, then just have fun.
You're never going to win. Not with these crazies. There's too many crazies out there.
I tell you what, that is nuts. But yeah, I take my hat off to guys like you that's willing to do things like this. But yeah, maybe you should think of when everything's back and running up again. Think of one of those crazy ideas and hit the road, maybe all the way along the coast down to Cape Town. I mean, that's a spectacular event to do. A bit of planning, but why not? I mean, that could just be something that you could do. I know you'll pull it off at least. I'll be happy to be a second or a third if you get something like that. But yeah. Anyway, Gordon, I mean,
you and me on a tandem for 947 this year. What do you mean?
No. Not well this year. I'll only say yes because it's probably not going to happen. But I will rather not.
Dude, sign that serviette now. The viewers are wanting you to sign a serviette saying, now, okay, lekker. Gordon, you and me, 947 on the tandem. I'm trying to sell it at the moment. If you commit, I won't sell it.
Tell you what, Gordon, if there was a way that I don't have, I won't mind pedaling at all. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as I just don't have to do the hard, do the most of the bit, because we won't make it. I'll die because that time of the year I've actually done the 947 again as an editor. I've been fortunate enough uh, to work for companies and that's been involved with all these doozies and comrades and stuff like that. So you know what? I'll much rather watch it like that and just take my hat off to every guy that does do it, because I tell you what, it's 100% respect to all of them. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but certain people aren't made for certain things in life, and I'm one of those, unfortunately. And I tell you what,
Nothing wrong.
the 947 is one of the hottest events of the year, especially because it's in November, almost basically the start of summer, and I'm yet to see a chilly 947 happen, and just for that sake alone, there's no chance in hell I'm making it unless you can build a shower on top of the tandem. If you can do that and that shower sprays on me like the whole way, then I'm in. I will sign the screen, and they'll be in. So yeah, but
I've got something for you. That the friend of mine who got me into the cows. I think it's worthwhile mentioning her, and it's terribly sad and touching on Kieran and Grant Bain again too, who tragically lost their second daughter to cancer at the beginning of this year. And Deline, who got me into the cows, her sister also passed away of cancer. So I'm still very friendly with her father. Two people we close to who have lost both daughters to cancer, which just as a parent of two daughters, I couldn't deal with that, and all love and strength to them. But Deline's mum, God bless her, Julie, makes these towels, and basically for the 947, because we normally got cow suits or full suits or whatever on, is it goes around your neck, and it ice sits over in here, and that just drips down on you the whole time. So no problem, buddy. I've got you covered. Sign that screen right now. We're doing it.
Okay, we'll have to talk about this for a while longer, but yeah, no, listen, I remember I started speaking to you last year when you had that, what do you call it, those hand cycles. That really sounds like something fun. But maybe one day, if you guys do get to do an event in Joburg, please let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Santon and Menlyn, we coming. Obviously, we just got to get things down. Hopefully we'll have our prototype up and built in the next month. The nice thing there is that government wants to get involved too. There's also a couple of other sponsors that I'm trying to tie in people. There is one big motoring company, let's not mention them by name, but they sponsor the Paralympics, and now you can probably guess who they are, and it's ticking all the boxes for them. So I'm trying to develop the format so that they can get involved too, because I personally believe it's something that can be a legacy. With 1 in 13 people physically challenged in this country, we don't see it because they're sitting at home. Transport's not easy for people with wheelchairs, so we need to develop an entire community. One of the guys that came and entered last year, Justin, has got 2 hand cycles, and when he arrived at the hand cycle event last year, he loaned us his 100,000 rand hand cycles to do the event. And he said, like, oh, where did all these come from? And there's a white, affluent, connected guy who hasn't got a community to cycle with. And now let's turn the scales completely around. Most black people sitting in the Khamadulas, there's no community for them, and there's no equipment for them that's affordable. 100,000 rand bike isn't affordable to me, so it's not going to be affordable to him. And that's why we're trying to get the government involved, because if we can involve them and they can actually sponsor the bikes, then the money that we raise during the event can go towards helping out schools for physically challenged people.
Well, I've got your details on the screen. If anybody is seeing this, watching it later now, whenever, hopefully they can get in touch with you if they want to get involved in some way or another. You will be able to put them on the right track into what direction they need to go, or maybe you are the right guy that they want to talk to. Please There's Gordon's number and his email address. And I know you guys have a Facebook page at this stage of the game. Obviously, website still under construction, as they would say.
Under construction, coming in a couple of weeks' time, definitely.
So yeah, please, guys, put in any support you can or get involved if there's an event you guys want Gordon to do for you. This man, you can speak to him. Gordon, yeah, man, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you so much for putting some time aside. Not that you've got much else to do at this stage. Luckily, it's not the 1st of June yet, because I know on the 1st of June, you're probably going to be doing a 24-hour running around Durban, cycling around Durban, walking on your hands or doing something crazy. So enjoy it when it comes.
Don't joke. It's planned. It's planned.
You know what? I know I don't have to joke because I was thinking about it while we were chatting, and I thought, geez, the 1st of June is going to come, and your wife is probably not going to see you for a very long time. But yeah, thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it, and all the best with all your projects that you trying to get off the ground, that you are involved with. Cows, the works, everybody. Just keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, like I said earlier, if anybody wants to follow Gordon, that's your same Twitter handle I think on Instagram as well, if I'm not mistaken. Lucky Gordy.
Yeah, Instagram's just got a underscore at the end of it, but you'll find me.
Yeah. So yeah, follow Gordon, and you'll see all the crazy stuff he gets up to most of the time, and drawing pictures in his suburb at the moment under lockdown. Anyway, Gordon, thanks for your time. I really, really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Jacques. Thank you very much for having me. I sincerely appreciate it.